Are you inhibited? Stay tuned because in this episode, I will share with you how to overcome numbness, embody pleasure, and express yourself sensually. This is Candia Raquel, and you are at the Sensual Sessions Podcast, the place to explore sensing pleasure through the senses and moving in a way that it's free from inhibition and full of self expression. So let's begin with defining inhibition. Inhibition is a blockage, a, a lack of communication either with your inner self or with the exterior world. And there are two main types of inhibition: emotional inhibition and physical inhibition. So, emotional inhibition can be, for example, feeling insecure about your looks, thinking, oh no, my nose is too big and everyone around in this country have like smaller noses and I don't fit into the stereotypes, or I don't see myself mirrored in my family of origin, and then I feel that I am less off and I feel ashamed because I don't feel fit that belonging mold, or I don't have highly beaver's height nor body measurements, and I am not married to Justin Bieber, so I feel that I am not enough. I feel less than. I am comparing myself with the external world, and as a consequence, this false core of identity creates a blockage, which is an inhibition to express yourself, especially when it comes to expressing pleasure. So that's the emotional inhibition. As you see, is subjective. It has to do with concepts, constructs, ideas, but is not factual. Nevertheless, it's like it has an effect of being inhibited. And the second type of inhibition is physical inhibition. It's biological inhibition, can be like a serious condition like enzymes or at a biochemical level. But I am gonna refer here to the inhibition of not being aware of bodily sensations out of distraction and the habit of disconnection, meaning uh, that you may go on through the day running the motions without realizing how does it physically feels to do what you're doing. It's like, oh no, I have just ate one donut and I didn't really pay attention of the flavor of the donut. Or like I am already showered and I didn't realize whether the fragrance of my shampoo was nice or not, because my focus of attention is anywhere else but in the here now of our bodily reality. And this has the effect of numbness, of n- n- not sensing the body, not because there is any like clinical issue, but because of what is called in the somatic movement world sensory motor amnesia. It's a term coined by Thomas Hanna that refers to having forgotten how to sense and how to move. How to sense is the sensory, how to move is the motor, and the forgetting is amnesia. The term is sensory motor amnesia. And this is a huge problem because it means being inhibited in our first and foremost conscious awareness of being alive, which is our bodily state. And oftentimes we forget we are a body, and we only realize that we are a body when there's a serious problem and we are heading to the emergency room with a lot of pain. Like, we are at that level as a society, as a species, humanly, of alienation from the flesh. So that was the two kinds of inhibition, emotional and physical inhibition, in my view. And now I want to talk about how our culture of consumption has indoctrinated us into numbness, into not feeling. Actually, it's like a badge of honor to be desensitized and be an unsensitive person, almost as if completely shutting down our physical sensations was honorable, when the fact is that it's just plain self neglect and self abandonment at the core level. And we even have this very popular slogan that describes the toxicity we live in as a culture of consumption, which is the slogan of no pain, no gain. And I mean, I have abided by that. As a professional dancer, I know what it is that the toenail of my big toe detached, and I kept on dancing on pointed shoes. And my only worry was not about my pain nor about myself, but my worry was on the blood not staining my perfectly pink satin pointed shoes and not leaving like a trail of blood in the stage, in the theater, and everyone finding out. So I was feeling like worried and ashamed in advance, as if it was a weakness. And then for a long time, we even have in dance like this concept of injuries being our trophies of battles, of endurance. And especially for women, we have this imprint of martyrdom as a virtue and self sacrifice as the price we pay for respectability in a way. And all of that is so cruel to ourselves and to women as a gender. It's out mostly violent. And a way that is expressed is in this numbness, in this shutting down the sensations of the flesh and prioritizing everything else, like putting everything else as a priority and leaving yourself last. And like pleasure doesn't even figure in, is not even painted in the picture, not in even in a small measure, because like if any, like there's pain and that must be turned off or shut down in order to comply with the duty. And I mean, of course, there's the instance of survival and extreme situations of life and death. And like, if you're a surgeon and there's an earthquake, like, I mean, your duty is to protect the patient. And you see the videos of the surgeon, like, hugging, like, the anesthetized patient, and because that's the duty. Or like moms doing everything to save their children, or etc. The thing is that that is appropriate only on extreme situations, and we have made the modus operandi of extreme situations our lifestyle. And I really believe that that is wrong, especially because that justifies, in this culture of consumption, packaging pleasure as a product to be bought with the money earned through hard work and sacrifice. And then we see everywhere pleasure advertised. We see like, wow, we want to do the Pilates challenge to get a hot body and to be confident to make bank and marry the babe and then go on vacations to the Bahamas on our luxury boat. So there's that ideal sold everywhere that if you sacrifice yourself and suffer enough and endure pain and delay gratification, you will be deserving of pleasure. Sold like that. And of course, you have to pay that with money. It's the culture of consumption. But it's a scheme of deception, because you see the story one and again. Once they finally arrive to the Bahamas on the boat, they are doing the same that they were doing in the office, like scrolling on social media, checking emails on vacations, being stressed about whatever stuff, and being in the like in the promised land of pleasure and not finding the promised pleasure after having paid with money, with time and sacrifice. And it's this idea that I am gonna be happy when I'm gonna feel deserving to delight in my body when I get the super fit shape and fit into the trending jeans. And all of that is a lie. And we operate as a society under that lie that promotes what? Inhibition, numbness, not sensing pleasure in your body here now, so you can pay to get that, because by paying supposedly you're gonna feel deserving. And it's a trap, and I'm gonna tell you why. scientifically. Not only because I feel it's a complete nonsense as an ideology, but the fact is that your physical sensations belong to the ultimate reality of the flesh, of the body, biologically, which means the body that is alive as long as it's healthy and that will eventually follow the law of life, as everything that is alive in this planet, our destiny is not different. Like, we born, we grow, we are happy, and then bye. That's the fact, that's reality. And the way that we know as a fact how are we doing is either because we are experiencing pleasure or we are experiencing pain. Of course, when you have a really bad stomach ache, you know there's something wrong and you need to fix it, and you go to the doctor running. And that is like, okay, tolerated in our culture of consumption, but we completely disregard the other side of the coin, that is pleasure, and that is equally important than pain. It's like yes and no are equivalent in every respect, is the same coin. No means like stop doing that. Like, if you put your hand in the oven at 300 degrees, you're gonna get burned and you're gonna feel that. So it's like you feel you're burning, like you take your hand off. That's the primal reflex of survival. That's a no. If you're going through pain, it's a no. You need to stop doing something, to do things differently. And with the exact same weight, we must address pleasure as the primal, physical, factual knowing of being on the right path. Why? Because pleasure is how health feels like. Let me say that again. Pleasure is how health feels like. If you pay attention, like simply breathing is delightful. Drinking water when you're thirsty feels so good. When you've been driving on a jam highway and you really need to pee and you finally arrive to the bathroom and you get to pee, it's like, ah, a delightful release. When you're cold and you put on the blanket that your grandma knitted, it's like, so cozy, warm, feels good. The colors of the sunrise. Pleasure is life affirming. Pleasure is signals that you are on the right path. It's a confirmation that you are standing in the right place at a plain scientific biological level. That important is the sensation, to be aware of the sensation of pleasure. And the thing is that we've been sold this concept of pleasure as fireworks. Yeah, pleasure can be like bombastic, spectacular, overwhelming, but on extraordinary situations, the same as pain being an overwhelming sensation. There are levels of pain. We must listen to all of them and act in the same way that there are different levels of pleasure, and we must listen to them and act on them. and learn, especially from pleasure. Pain is a no, pleasure is a yes, is the ultimate yes. So pleasure is your compass, like, am I on the right track here now? And it's also the North Star, like, I am not feeling well. I am recovering from the bad stomach ache. What can I do to feel better? And that feel better, you're feeling better because you're experiencing more pleasure, fleshly. And something very important is to understand that both pain and pleasure are physical sensations. You can track them, like, physiologically, through neural connections. With an brain scan, specific areas of the brain will light up in pain in contrast with in pleasure, and different brain chemistries operate with either one of them. So it's not your subjective conceptual interpretation of things, such as emotions, like the neighbor looked at me with a bad vibes glance, and now I am offended, angry, or sad, or scared, or I like the neighbor and it was a sexy look and then I am happy. Those are interpretations of concepts that are filtered subjectively. And that to say that once we are clear of the difference, it's easier to actually tap into our bodily sensitivity to support our subjective experience of the world. You can be grieving a terrible loss and feel pleasure. And it's very important. Pleasure how? Well, cover yourself in the cozy blanket as you go through the grieving. Prepare yourself a warm chicken soup. Do some aromatherapy with lavender. Put some flowers on a vase and see them as you go, as you navigate the emotions. Use physical pleasure to stay healthy. Okay, so probably by now there's more clarity on how deep has been our culture of consumptions imprint and indoctrination in regards to matters of the flesh. We even have like the taboo of religion, of patriarchy, where the body is the realm of sin, which first and foremost is a lie, because body is, you are your body. That's it. That's the fact. And I'm gonna be a body as long I I am gonna be as long as I am a body. And when I am no longer a body and my body goes back to earth, as the apples that fall from the tree and they go back to earth and they decompose, the same with, like, there will be no more Candia. That's it, done, gone. So the body is the ultimate reality. The flesh, it's not an idea, it's not a concept. It's the fact, as much and in the same way that pleasure and pain is how we experience the reality, the ultimate reality of being body and flesh. And I know this is like a lot of information. That's why we are devoting a whole episode here to talk about this, because it's, I believe, a requirement to begin to at least dismantle, at least open a little bit of space in these super crystallized preconceptions around the body, the flesh, and pleasure that we've been told and we have believed without questioning. So we can begin to detach from those ideas and get in touch with our ultimate experience of life itself, which is the perception of the flesh, especially the perception of pain and pleasure, pleasure and pain. And when you made that space, it's almost as if the blockage of the emotional inhibition begins to melt. It's not like a hard wall, but perhaps you can realize it was just like a mirage of a wall, but the wall was not right and was not true and was not real. It was just a mirage, a projection, a simulation that you subscribe to. But in 1 second, you can opt out of that subscription and embrace, like with your hands around your chest, hugging and touching the reality of your body, and say like, ah, this is me. Wow, all of this time I have been living in the paradise of my body, that it's full of delights, like, hmm, even sensing the softness of saliva around the tongue is an exquisite sensation. Just sliding the fingerprints of one fingertip against another fingertip feels so good. Like we are palaces of delight. It's our birthright. It's very important to take ownership of yourself and your totality as a body, and become your own authority with agency on your flesh, and you be the one that decides on you and your experience through self consent, and authorize you, authorize yourself to delight in the exquisiteness of your flesh, alive, here, now. And I know it can feel almost as a rebellious act, like there's no one to ask permission for. It's up to you to claim yourself as a mature adult that does with the self as you please. So, yeah, that's on the indoctrination of numbness that culture of consumption has laid upon us, and how to dismantle all those concepts that we like have been carried along as an outdated software from the Inquisition that is a plain lie, and reclaim the the fact what it's evident to everyone, like we are alive here now, and claim this this wondrous awe in the universe. And once we have made like that space, put aside preconceptions, then we can get into the core of the matter, which is how to overcome inhibition, physical inhibition. Okay, we are okay with sensing, feeling, welcoming pleasure, uh, looking at how we're doing and checking on how delightful we are feeling as a compass to see how healthy we are, how fully in this moment we are. And then it's possible to discover that you are not feeling anything in your body or not feeling much, that your whole body is like anesthetized, almost as how you feel your cheeks when you go out of the dentist, and you have to be careful not to bite your tongue because you don't feel anything. It's like you're almost drooling. It's difficult to talk, and your face do opposite as your will, but in the whole body. That's the bodily numbness. That's the bodily inhibition, or what Thomas Hanna coined as sensory motor amnesia, not sensing. And in short, it's a bad habit, just like picking your nose and taking the boogers out with you even realizing that that's a terrible habit. Well, even worse is the habit of numbness. We have practiced numbing ourselves out from our flesh, that in order to resensitize ourselves, we need to also create a practice and a habit of what is called in science neuromuscular reorganization. We want the nerves, our nervous system, to get back in touch, caress the muscles, and register the movement of the muscles, the sensations, and travel and let the impulse travel back to the brain and register and sense it. It's like, okay. So wiggle your toes, and it's like, perhaps you have all this half an hour of the podcast. Perhaps you forgot you had toes until you wiggle them, and perhaps you can notice how the position of your head is right now. If it's on top of your pelvis and sit bones, or it was like tensed and pushed forward. So, how to overcome inhibition is answered through the practice of sensitivity. And I invite you to use your routines as a means to practice sensual embodiment. And that looks like making washing your hands a sensual routine, shampooing your hair, making it part of your routine of sensuality. And what's gonna make it something you do robotically on autopilot, as if you were an AI avatar, from as a practice of sensual embodiment. So here's the key: slow down, tone it down, and make it gentle. So we rush through everything. This culture of consumption is busy by default. So sensuality is about slowing down and taking your time to sense. We already talked about the concept of pleasure as fireworks. That's not what we want. We want nuanced. Instead of Coca Cola soda and that like strong flavor, we are aiming for the ever so gentle taste of a jasmine tea on the right temperature at the right temperature. Go for nuanced. So you need to slow down, take your time, and tone the intensity down. And my favorite example is with the fingertips. So slide your index fingertip against the fingertip of your thumb and see what you notice. Check on the pressure that you are using. And now do it at half the speed and also have the range and have the pressure. And see if you can get to the point where you are not sure if you are moving your fingertips through the air or they are actually touching. Where you don't know if you're imagining the touch or actually touching. And working at this very discreet, with ultimate delicacy level. Now, see if you can actually sense the tiny ridges of your fingerprints. If you can touch the fingerprint of your thumb with the fingerprint of your index finger, and you can, and you will notice this is such a detailed caress. When you slow down, when you do less, you feel more. And there's even a law in physiology, medicine, that explains this is the Weber-Fechner law. That practically the equation says the less intensity, the more the sensitivity. And now you just push one one finger against the other, and you will notice that the sensation is completely lost. Perhaps you are sensing the muscles on the palm of your hand and your forearm, but the exquisiteness is lost with intensity. Okay, now let it go and just again caress one fingerprint with the other, and notice it, very interestingly, if there's a ripple. Perhaps your shoulders are softening. Perhaps your jaw has softened. Perhaps your breath has deepened. And these would all be indicators that you shifted your modus operandi at a nervous system level, that you went from survival mode on on the sympathetic nervous system to the other side of the brain, which is parasympathetic dominance in the rest and digest mode. This is where sensuality lives. So, this is how we answer the question on how to embody pleasure. So, first, we overcome inhibition by slowing down. by doing less in order to feel more. And once we are feeling more, we notice how much of what we are feeling is pleasurable. And then we elaborate on that pleasure. And when you can change the finger, perhaps the middle finger against the thumb, and notice the difference. And now we have covered the part of the inhibition of the body. So this last exploration that we are going to do is aimed on overcoming the inhibition of emotions and how to express pleasure. Well, first off, you need to give yourself permission to express pleasure. You need to feel okay and safe and give yourself consent for letting your pleasure be seen, even seen by yourself, like how you imagine yourself from the outside or see yourself in the mirror, and then eventually maybe the beloved or everyone on social media to become the gaze that witnesses your pleasure. So once you have your self consent, that you said yes, then this is how you express yourself sensually. So you're already in touch with the sensations and you're already in touch with pleasure. And the sensation of pleasure in the body has a natural quality of creating movement. If you allow it, perhaps you're uh, wanting to sigh or make sounds as you keep on caressing your fingerprints. Perhaps change the finger and notice if this movement in your fingertips invites you to move in other places of your body. Begin with the breath. Your breath will want to respond and integrate because the fingertips are not isolated in the galaxy, they are glued to the wrist, and the wrist to the forearm, and the forearm to the shoulder blade, to the torso, to the spine, to the pelvis, to the head, to the legs, to your toes, to everything. We are integrated. So pleasure in one area of your body can travel and invite more areas of your body to join the party as one. And perhaps you already notice that you are moving with the sensations. Now keep the movement without thinking and just notice if very gentle movement can bring you the sensation of the fabric of your clothes brushing against your skin and how it feels. And continue exploring and moving. And here you'll discover yourself expressing your sensuality through movement in a way that it's free from inhibition. So you see, this is a very natural thing. It's what tigers do in the wild. They walk normally to the next tree or wherever they are heading, sensually enjoying themselves without thinking on how they look. They are just like feeling very nice, as we see. Or eagles when they like jump from their nest and they dive and grab fish and then swim a little bit and fly again. Like you see the majestic quality of their movement which is filled with potency, the potency of life force. And we interpret that as a sensual movement. And we have that in ourselves, in our flesh, because that's our true nature, sensuality. We are sensitive, and we use the sensation of pleasure at an unconscious level, at a survival level, to know that we are doing well, that we are brimming with life. And it's a fiery sensation. It's a creative sensation, a desirous sensation of wanting to go do create things. It's a primal drive. That is sensuality. And if you're ready to learn more, I invite you to go grab the free guide to awaken sensuality on my website, which is my name, candiaraquel.com, or www.candiaraquel.com. Until next time, remember to take the time to sense your fire so you can share the flame.